Okay, this video might be a little bit longer than the last one. Um, I'm gonna be going over events, which are very important when it comes to game making. It's basically the only thing that you can do to ensure that your game works. Unless, yeah, it's the only way you can ensure that your game works, that it's interactive, that things actually happen. So events are actions or occurrences that happen in your game, like a player touching a part, clicking a button, or a character taking damage. In Roblox Studio, you can use events to trigger specific actions. For example, when a player touches a part, you can make something happen, like playing a sound or giving them points. So I'm actually gonna show you how you would go about doing that. So first you would need a part, something the player will interact with, and then you put a script in that part. And first we gotta define the part, so we're gonna use a variable like we went over. So instead of having to go script.parent, because the part is the parent of the script, every single time we want to reference the part, we're just gonna do it right here, local part equals script.parent. And here comes the hard part. To make a event for when a player or when something touches this part, we need to do part. Oh, not part, parse. Part.touched. Alright, so that's the start. And then we need to connect a function to this event. So connect function. And then right here, we need to pass the thing it hit into the function itself. So we're just going to do hit. Now, this right here is this function is gonna execute every single time anything touches the part. But if we were, let's just say we wanted to kill the player like the obbies do when they touch parts, like the red parts in obbies, they die. We would have to make sure that this only happens when the player touched it. So the way people usually go by doing this is they check for a humanoid in the thing that touched it. So we can do that by doing local humanoid equals hit.parent, because usually the way the character is built up in Roblox Studio is it's a model with a bunch of parts in it. So when you go over and touch this part, it's not going to be your actual character that's touching something, it's going to be one of these parts in your character. So when we do hit.parent, it's just that, let's say it hit the right upper leg. Then we get this dot parent. Oh, look at that, that's the character. And then we can look for the humanoid to ensure that it was actually a humanoid, like a humanoid that hit that part. And then we can do find first child humanoid. So what this will do is, if this exists, to check if it is a humanoid, we do if humanoid. This is just basic English. Like, if you understand English, you can understand this. So if hit.parent find first child humanoid. So if it finds a humanoid in the part it hits parent, which is the character in this case, then also English, then we will do something. And since we've already defined the humanoid, because we'll only get this far, it will only get this far if there is a humanoid, because we're checking right here if there is a humanoid. We can use the humanoid again, and then get also this is a good thing you can do. So right now, if I do health, you see how it doesn't come up with like a recommendation. So you know how when you're writing code, sometimes it pops down with a little thing you can choose from, and it gives you recommendations. What you can do is you can do this thing and do humanoid. This basically specifies to the game that this variable is referring to a humanoid, and then you can suddenly get this little help thing where it finishes your code for you basically, because you've defined that this variable is going to be a humanoid and then equals to 0. So now when I go into the game and test it, I die. So in this example, we're using the touched event. So when something touches the part, we check if there's a humanoid in the part it hit its parent, because that's usually what happens. Like there's parts inside a character, and since the parent of the part in the character is the character and the humanoid is in the character, we define for find for child humanoid, and then if humanoid, then humanoid health equals 0. This is like a very basic concept of, well, like a very basic use of events, and they let your game respond to actions that happen in real time in your game. Now let's look at some common events in Roblox Studio and how you might use them in your game. I mean, so this is already like something you might use in your game if you wanted to create an obby or something and you needed something to kill the player. Another thing would be if you wanted a game with, let's say, a UI. So you go into start a UI, screen UI, you create a text button. So if I go into game now and I'm like, well, what the flip? Nothing's happening. Nothing's happening at all. That's because we haven't given it anything to do yet. We haven't even connected functions. So the way we do this is local button. Yes, the same here as we got the part. The button is the parent of the local script. So we do equal script.parent, and we do button dot mouse button one click. That means it's the like M1. Everyone knows that mouse button 1. There's also 2 if you were to right click it, but this is for left click. And then we connect the function to that action. And then when this happens, maybe we print button clicked. And we're gonna check the output here. Yep, button clicked. Perfect, it works. Now, something to keep in mind is that UIs, they don't work with server scripts. So you see how this is a local script and this is a script, you might wonder, what's the difference? So server script, local scripts, this only happens on the like client side. So if you do any changes there, only the player, this specific player, me, would be able to see that. But since this thing is not server script, I would die on the server for everyone if I went on that part. If I was meant to make this in a local script, then I would only die for myself, and I would just be like, it would just make a weird effect. Like I would still just be standing there, but for myself I would like respawn and stuff. It's just weird. So then you might ask me like, well, what if I want a part that kills the player for everyone? Then it would get a little bit more complicated. You would need to use a remote event to communicate with the server. And usually when we have a script to communicate via local scripts and server scripts, we usually put those scripts in server script service. You can put them anywhere, but it's just the recommended practice is to put it in the server script service. And we can rename this to server. And what we would need to do is, since this remote event is in the replicator storage, also recommended to put it in there. You can put it in here if you want, but it's just going to be harder for the server. I mean, the server won't even, like, it's going to be very hard for the server to access that remote event if it's not in the replicator storage service. So, since we did this in the last episode, we should remember how to do it. If we need to get to the replicated storage, the best way to do that is to define where replicated storage is. So we make a variable for replicated storage, game get service replicated storage. And then what we would do is we would replicate the storage dot remote event fire server. So we're firing to the server. So we're basically we're sending a message from the client to the server. So now in the server script we can do the same thing. Local replicated storage equals game get service replicated storage. Replicated storage dot remote event, and this is another type of function. On server event. So when it receives this remote event gets fired, connect function. So we're connecting a function to that action. And then we're gonna do, so what gets passed through local scripts automatically when you fire these events is the player. So you can put it right here, and then we have the player. And we can do player.character.humanoid, or the best way is probably to do wait for child humanoid dot health equals 0. And if you were gonna do something like a lot of actions with the player or the character or the humanoid, I would recommend to do local character equals player.character and local humanoid equals character wait for child humanoid. Because let's say if I wanted the character dot upper torso, I think it is. Whatever. Let's just say if I wanted the character dot name to change to hello, and also make the humanoid dot health equals to 0. Then that's a lot less typing I would have to do if I do this than if I was gonna do player.character.name equals hello and then player.humanoid wait for child. Player.character wait for child humanoid dot health equals 0. What wait for child does is it basically waits for a specific child that you want. So that child right now is humanoid. We went over the structure of the character before, which is right here. So this is the parent of all the things inside here. So since we got the character right here, and humanoid is character, this thing, character, Lorik said, wait for child humanoid. So it's waiting for this child specifically. And once it gets that child, then we have the humanoid. So let's try this button now. The current character name, right, player, interesting. I don't really know why that's like that. Maybe you're not allowed to change character's name. Unless we have to do it in another way. I'm just gonna check that really quick. Yeah, I don't know why it doesn't let me do that. That should work. I don't know why it doesn't. But either way, if I press a button, we die now. That would look weird if we didn't send this message to the server that we wanted to do that. Another way we can do, another event we could use is, it used to be that, but you can listen for when certain things change. So let's say we wanted to kill the player, or let's say we wanted to, let's just say we wanted to kill. That's a weird. It's a bit overcomplicated. I know how to do it, but it's a bit overcomplicated. But I'll do it right now. So let's say we want. Actually, we don't have to go that over course. Actually, let's say we wanted to rename this part to red part when it changes to red. So let's go back into the part script, and then we could do part. Oh no, parse part. Get property change signal. So what this does is it it basically says what it does, right? But it sends a signal when a property is changed, and then just like any other time, we make it into a function. Wait, actually, hold on. I'm pretty sure you can. Yeah, so since we want to check for the color specifically, we're gonna do exactly that. Color. And then connect function. I think that's how you do it, at least. So when this changes, when the color of this part changes, we're going to print part dot color. And right here, we're also gonna add a task.weight. You might wonder why it's task.weight and not normal weight, and task.weight is just better. I might explain that later, but not right now. So after 5 seconds of the game running, we're gonna change the part color into enum.color. Wait. Am I forgetting how this works? Oh wait, it's color.new, and we're gonna make it red like we said. So, and we're also going to print the part.color before, just so we get like a little feel. So it's 0.6, you know, whatever this means, and then when it turns red, see, we get the new one. If you wanted to say like red or really red, that's just like a difference between using brick color. We can use brick color as well, brick color.new. And then we would need to use like these pre-made colors. And then when it changes, never mind. That's interesting. Well, this is like prints the values of the color, like what color they are. So that's like how to make an event for when properties change. But let's say you wanted to do something like when every time a player joins the game, you wanted to make you want to print here, like a welcome message. You want to print a welcome message to the player. The way we would do that is, first of all, we would make another one of these, because this is the right way to do it. I'm going to show you the right way to do it, so you know if you try to do something like this yourself. Local players equals game get service player players. So local, not local players. So players dot player added. So since game gets service players, so when a player is added to players, I'm gonna show you right here. I'm gonna get an error, but that doesn't matter. When a player is added here, you see how I'm here right now. We're gonna do something, and I think you already know what we're gonna do next. It's to connect this like action to a function. Also, the way we can do this is remember to put player right here, because that's just gonna pass like the player, you know, so you can actually do things. And then we would do print player join the game. Welcome. Lyrics to join the game. Welcome. So that's a very easy way to do that. So a real game example for this would be like, maybe you want them to you want to give everyone a tool when they join, or give specific players something. So let's say you wanted to give yourself the epic mega admin tool, then you would do if player dot name equals to Lyrixhead in this case, because it's me. Then I'm just gonna do this in the script, but you can have it in the server store. Actually, I'm gonna show this to you so you know. When making something, unless you want a local script to be able to access it too. If you want to make something that people might you don't want regular players to see, or like a hacker to see or something, this is just the best place to store it either way. If it's only the server needs to access it, epic admin mega tool in the server storage, and then we need to do this again. So local server storage equals game get service server storage. So if per se a real example for a game, we would do players.player added, and if this is you, then the one that should get be honored to get the epic admin mega tool, then we would do server storage, since it's in the server storage, dot epic admin mega tool. You might wonder, oh, where's the dot? Where's the dot? Since it's has spaces, we need to do this to put the entire name in it, because otherwise it's gonna mess up the code with like a bunch of spaces. And before this, you can act like there's a hidden dot, but here we need to add a dot. Parent equals player dot backpack. This would only give the player the tool, like when they. Oh, interesting. Very interesting. Very, very, very interesting. So, I wonder why that didn't work. My name is most definitely Lorik said. Either way, what we're gonna do is, this is a bad way to do it, because usually what you want to do is you want to clone it. So local epic tool equals this clone, or not that clone, this clone, and then epic tool dot parent equals player dot backpack. And you know, it might work now too. No, it still doesn't work. Very interesting. That might be because it's trying to clone it into the player before we actually load in. And a way to fix that is to do whatever this is. Player.character. Character. Wait, hold on. Hold on. Why am I being stupid? Hold on. I'm having a brain fart right now. Bro, I had the code in front of my eyes just a second ago. Let's see what this comes up with. Yeah, so player.character added. That's what I was doing. Why didn't it show up? Okay, player.character added. So when the player's character is loaded in, we can do something as well. And this is gonna pass the character like this automatically. I wrote this a bit fast. So the player right here, the character, we already know this. I've gone through it many times. This is the character, so when that loads, this is gonna happen. And then we could do the local clone equals server storage dot epic admin mega tool clone, and then put that clone into the players. I forgot to explain this actually. So since the clone, I mean obviously you know what clone is, but clone.parent, so the clone's parent right now is server storage, so if we change that to the player's backpack, then it's automatically just gonna transfer it to the player's backpack. And hopefully it works this time, because otherwise I'm making a fool of. Yeah, see. So player epic admin mega tool. It's just because I was cloning it to the backpack before the character loaded in, so it like didn't work. So if we didn't make a clone, then when I died and my character loads back in, I wouldn't have gotten it again, since there wouldn't be anything. I would just get an error like Oh, there's nothing. There's like nothing in here because we just changed the parent to the backpack. That's an example of why you might want to use this, like a real example, like for a game. Let's say you would want to do something when the humanoid died. The way we would do this is we would put a script in this. So here we go. This is important knowledge. We're getting very overboard here, but I'm just trying to teach you guys events. So this is starter player. You can add scripts that automatically come in the player, which you might need. You can also put a model in here, and then the player's gonna spawn in as a model, but that's for something else. But we're gonna put a local script in the starter character scripts. And just to define some things, local players equals game dot players dot local player. The only reason you can do local player here is because it's a local script. You cannot do this in server scripts to get the player. Keep that in mind. And then local character is equal to player dot character, and local humanoid is equal to character wait for child humanoid. So what we would do is humanoid. Roblox has made it very easy by having a thing. I'm just gonna do this right here because I want to see all the things. So they actually have an action for died, and then we can just connect a function to that, just like this. We've been over this multiple times. And then we could do print player.name died. And then when I die, oh, Lurix had died. A real example with this is, for example, if you had a leaderboard. I'm not gonna show how to make a leaderboard in this video. Would maybe that they show show how many deaths you have on the leaderboard. So we could just have like local deaths here, 0, and then deaths plus equals 1, and then also print deaths. Or maybe we could have like maybe you want to make a game where if the player dies, they get banned forever, or they get kicked. You could do that by having that. Yeah, see, so Lurkhead died. Now my death counter is at 1, and now it's at 1 again, and that's because this resets every single time I respawn. So to fix that, we can put this script into starter player scripts instead, which I probably should have. Ooh. Attempting X nil. Interesting, and that's because, well, that's the issue with putting it in starter player scripts, is because of the fact that it's not gonna load in perfectly, since we could put a task way up there, but that's not a good way to do it. Either way, if you want, you can't get around this. You would have to create like a thing that stays forever. Like you'd use this, for example. You do a local def counter equals instance.new int value. We went over this before. Int value stores numbers. Def counter dot parent equals player. So we put this basically counter in the player, so it stays even after the eye. And this would be on the server as well. So to actually affect this, we need to use the remote event to communicate with this server in order to actually make this go up. But we could do this pretty easily by doing player wait for child. Oops. So local def counter equals player wait for child def counter. But we also gotta make this def counter's name to def counter. Def counter dot value equals 0, so we set the value to default to 0. Actually, no, we probably don't want to do that, because then it's gonna change to 0 every time the player dies, and this is also gonna make a new thing every single time. So what we could do is we could use an if statement, which we used before here, to check if something has already happened. So we can do local check for death counter equals exactly what this finished for me here. Actually, the first time the Roblox AI has ever done anything, so I'm just gonna explain this. So we're making a variable for checking for death counter, so player find per child. Don't just do player death counter, because then you're gonna get an error. What this does is it checks for it. And then if death counter, then return end. So if there is a death counter already, then we won't do this again. I'm doing these examples that are a bit like overboard for the knowledge you might already have to make it easier, because when I used to watch these tutorials, I'd be like, oh, how am I gonna use this in my game? So I'm trying to use some real world examples for how you would use these in your game, right? And then here we could do, so we're just gonna steal this script really quick, okay? I mean, we're gonna steal that really quick at least. And then we're gonna do, every time we die, we're gonna print, we're gonna do replicator storage, the remote event, fire server. And then we go back here, and we already have this here, right? So, every time we get that, death counter dot value plus equals 1. Perfect. So, now, when we go over here and die, 0, since it starts off at 0, and then, or did I? Oh right, my bad. We need to do local death counter equals player wait for child death counter, just like that. And that's just so we get the death counter that's actually in the player and not the local one that we had in the local script that doesn't really work. So, nil. Interesting. Oh, right, I forgot to change this. Since this doesn't actually exist anymore, the deaths variable, we need to do death counter dot value. And now it should work. 0, interesting. 1. The reason there's a small delay is because the fact that I'm printing this straight after this. If I were to do just ask at a task.wait right there, which basically makes it wait just a frame, which is a very small amount, then it's gonna be 0 again. Okay, well, why does that happen? That's a real question. Either way, what we could do, another example of a function, instead of having this print right here, what we could do is have this happen when you die, and then do death counter, and we used this before, get property change signal, again, we used this before for the part, value, connect function, and then do exactly print player name died death counter dot value, and that way we can make sure that it won't say 0 anymore, even though it clearly died one time. So that's all I'm gonna do for the humanoid.died, because I feel like I've done way too much right there. So now I'm gonna show you how to combine. Actually, I've already done this now, so I don't think I would need to do that, because I've already kind of shown you how to combine events for some advanced mechanics, kind of, you know. So, because instead of this being this, like, I was gonna show you how you would make a coin that increases a value in the player, but I've already done this with the death counter. So let's say instead we would make this a coin, yada yada yada, you know. It's basically the same principle, but that's it. So you now know how to use events in Roblox Studio to make your games interactive. Whether it's detecting when a player touches a board, clicks a button, joins the game, or dies. What we've gone over is how to use the touched function, the touched event, the property that a property is changed event, a mouse button click event, the died event, and we'll also learn a little bit about how remote events work and communication between client and server. If you have any suggestions for what I should show next, feel happy to leave them in the comments. Otherwise, I'm just gonna keep making these tutorials. Like, if you really feel like you want to know how to throw barrels or something, I'll happily make that. Otherwise, now I'm just gonna keep making these little short and sweet tutorials. Thank you for watching, and I'll be back with another one sooner or later.